Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You're listening to Aamir Ahmed, clarifying misconceptions in Islam. People ask me the question that why does Islam degrade women by keeping them behind the veil? The status of a woman in Islam is often the target of attacks in the secular media. The hijab or the Islamic dress is cited by many as an example of the subjugation of a woman under Islamic law. Before we analyze the reasoning behind the religiously mandated hijab, let us first study the status of women in societies before the advent of Islam. In the past, women were degraded and used as objects of lust. In Babylonian civilization, the women were degraded and were denied all the rights under the Babylonian law. If a man murdered a woman, instead of him being punished, his wife was put to death. In Greek civilization is considered the most glorious of all ancient civilizations. Under this very glorious system, women were deprived of all rights and were looked down upon. In Greek mythology, an imaginary woman called Pandora is the root cause of misfortune to human beings. The Greek consider women to be subhuman and inferior to men. Though chastity of women was precious and women were held in high esteem, the Greeks were later overwhelmed by ego and sexual perversions. Prostitution became a regular practice among Greek society. Let us analyze what the Roman civilization had to say about. When Roman civilization was at the zenith of its glory, a man had the right to take the life of his wife. Prostitution and nudity were very common in the Romans. What Egyptian civilization says? The Egyptian civilization considered women evil and silent of devil. In pre-Islamic Arabia, before Islam spread in Arabia, the Arabs looked down upon the woman, and very often the female child was born, she was buried alive. Alhamdulillah, Islam uplifted women and gave the equality and expects them to maintain their status. Islam uplifted the woman status and granted them just a right 1400 years ago. Islam expects women to maintain their status. People usually only discuss hijab in the context of women. However, in the glorious Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first mentioned hijab for men before hijab for the women. The Quran mentioned in Surah Nur chapter number 24 verse number 30, say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, that will make for greater purity for them, and Allah is well acquainted with all that they do. The moment a man looks at a woman, and if any brazen and unshamed thoughts come into his mind, he should lower his gaze. The next verse of Surah Nur chapter number 24 verse number 31 says, and say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, that they should not display their beauty and ornaments except what must ordinarily appear thereof, that they should draw veils over their bosoms and not display their beauty except to their husbands, their fathers, fathers and sons, in the big list. What are the criteria of hijabs? There are 6 criteria basically. The first criteria is extent. The extent of a body that should be covered. This is different for men and women. The extent of a covering obligatory on the male is to cover the body at least from the navel and up to the knees. For women, the extent of covering obligatory is to cover the complete body except the hands and face up to except the face and hands up to the wrist. If they wish to, they can cover these parts of the body. Some scholars of Islam insist that the face and the hands are part of the obligatory extent of hijab. All remaining 5 criteria are same for men and women. The second criteria is the clothes worn should be loose and should not reveal the figure. The third is the clothes worn should not be transparent such that they cannot see through them. Fourth is the clothes worn should not be so glamorous or attract opposite sex. Fifth is the clothes should not be resembled that the opposite sex, like people wearing balis and all. It's not allowed. Six, the clothes worn should not resemble that the sign of unbelievers. That they should not wear clothes that specifically identifies the symbols of the unbelievers' religion. And the one most common thing, if you analyze, hijab prevents molestation. The reason why hijab is prescribed for women is mentioned in the Quran in the following verses of Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter number 33, verse number 59. It says, O Prophet, tell the wives of and daughters and believing women that they should cast their outer garments over their persons when abroad. That is the most convenient, that they should be known as such and not molested. And Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. The Quran says that hijab has been prescribed for the women so that they are recognized as modest women, and they will also prevent them from being molested. Let us analyze an example of twin sisters. Suppose two sisters who are twins and who are equally beautiful walk down in the streets. One of them is attired in the Islamic hijab, that is, the complete body is covered except for the face and hands up to the wrist. The other sister is wearing western clothes, a mini skirts or shorts. Just around the corner there are hooligans or ruffians who is waiting for a catch to tease a girl. Whom will they tease? The girl wearing the Islamic hijab or the girl wearing skirt or the mini? Naturally, he will tease the girl wearing the skirt or the mini. Such dresses are an indirect invitation to the opposite sex to teasing and molestation. The Quran rightly says the hijab prevents a woman from being molested. And after that, if someone rapes a woman, he will receive capital punishment. Under the Islamic Sharia, a man convicted of having raped a woman is given capital punishment. Many are astonished that at this harsh sentence, some even say that Islam is ruthless, barbaric religion. I would ask a simple question to hundreds of non-Muslim men. Suppose, God forbid, someone rapes your wife, your mother or your sister, you are made the judge and the rapist is brought in front of you. What punishment would you give him? All of them would say, put him to death. Some went to the extent of saying that they would torture him to death. To them I ask, if someone rapes your wife or your mother, to want to put him to death? But if the same crime is committed by somebody else or wife, daughter, you say the capital punishment is barbaric? Why should these double standards? To answer more about the woman, you can refer to Dr. Zakir Naik's video cassette, Women Rights in Islam, and you can also mail me Aamir70@yahoo.com. It's AAMIRAHMED70@yahoo.com, and you can scrap me also in Orkut. Jazakallah khairum.